big news break coming in. What's the situation currently in Iran? Israeli airstrikes have been confirmed now in Iran's Urmia region, and that's led to an explosion that's happened very, very close to a hostel that houses Indian students. Kashmiri students are in that hostel. It's led to the J&K Students Association putting out a request to the Indian government to immediately relocate students to a safer location. There is a fear that as a result of more strikes by Israel, this hostel also in Urmia region of Iran could be hit. And that's why a request has come in from the J&K Students Association to the government of India, asking to relocate these students to safer locations. We will await an official statement from the government as well on this latest appeal that's come in from the Students Association. But remember that flight ops have partially resumed, which means that there are many who were affected, many Indians who are stranded in Middle East countries who are now finally getting a chance to come back home. As far as Iran itself is concerned, we know that Indians have been moved out of Tehran, but in other pockets of Iran, there is still a sizable Indian population that everyone is looking to kind of address. The Indian government is working towards being in touch with every single one of them. But let's talk about what this war has really changed across the world. Now, it's being referred to as the new normal. Whether it's about how you're seeing more and more drone strikes taking place, we saw it during Operation Sindoor too, or the fact that pockets of the world that were considered to be safe and never considered to be in a war zone, like Dubai, like Abu Dhabi, all of that also has been hit by conflict, by war in the last few days. Or the fact that, you see these kind of new rules of engagement where even a world leader, a head of state, someone who is considered to be untouchable, can be assassinated in pinpoint precision strikes. Here's a detailed report about how everything has changed post this West Asia war. Here's that report.
There was a time when wars were declared, when borders meant something, when battlefields were clearly drawn. But in the 21st century, the world order has shifted. The new normal is more complex and far more unpredictable. What once seemed unimaginable is now unfolding in real time. Take Dubai, long branded as the safest city in the world. Today, even it finds itself touched by war. The UAE, a tourist favorite, is seeing red skies and rising smoke. Images once associated with distant conflict zones. In ancient times, kings rode into battle and assassination was part of warfare. But in the modern era, targeting national leaders signals a dangerous shift. From Saddam Hussein to Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei being bombed, leadership itself is no longer insulated from war. Technology has transformed the battlefield. Drones, once limited in use, are now central to modern warfare. From South Asia to the Middle East, conflicts increasingly unfold in the skies. The latest developments have added another layer of fear. Reports say traffic cameras and other surveillance systems were hacked to track Iran's supreme leader Khamenei. Now it seems no one is spared from the eye of the camera. Putting everything aside, US President Donald Trump claimed he stopped 8 wars, including a potential nuclear face-off. But now it's clear that his hopes for a Nobel Peace Prize are unlikely. The situation in the world today is not just a West Asia story. It's a global shift, where no city is safe, no leader too distant. The rules haven't just changed, they are being rewritten. With Simran Sarwa, Bureau Report, India Today.
And one after another, Prime Minister Modi is speaking to Gulf country leaders to express a message of condemnation over strikes that have happened in their countries and also to check on the well-being of Indians. Prime Minister Modi now has spoken to the Emir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani. Prime Minister Modi, as I told you, has condemned the attacks that's happened in Qatar and also thanked the Emir of Qatar for support and care of the Indian community. Previously, Prime Minister Modi has spoken with the Sultan of Oman. He's also spoken to the King of Jordan. Those conversations happened today. In the last few days, he's also spoken to, in fact, MBZ of UAE, to MBS of Saudi Arabia. And the messaging is similar here. India and the Indian government is looking out for the huge population of Indians who are currently in those countries. And the communication that's going on from government to government is also to check on the well-being of Indians who are currently in these Gulf nations, which have been seeing strikes. Aishwarya Paliwal is joining us with more details on this. Aishwarya, the Indian government sending out a message that they're committed to checking on every Indian who's currently in the Middle East in the midst of the West Asia conflict.
Well, definitely, Akshita, let me just tell you, in the last 48 hours, what has Prime Minister Modi done? It's UAE, Israel, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Bahrain, Oman, Kuwait and Qatar. So these are the places where we understand that there are lakhs of Indians who are working at the moment. Prime Minister Modi has taken a stock of what exactly is happening. And let me tell you from what we understand from our sources within the Bharatiya Janata Party, an assessment of what will happen in the next 48 hours. That's also something that the Indian government and Prime Minister Modi has done. And also making sure that the Indians in all these 8 places are safe and secure. That's also something that the government has been focusing on. So the last 48 hours have been extremely crucial. The next 48 hours, Akshita, let me tell you, will be even more crucial, especially with regards to those who are staying in these 8 places. Akshita.
Aishwarya, thanks very much for joining us with those details. So Prime Minister there speaking to heads of state of several of these other countries to check on the situation as far as Indians are concerned, but also importantly, the Indian government sending out a message of condemnation to these countries that have also seen missile strikes, drone strikes from Iran hitting largely US bases, in some cases casualties as well. Now, it's important to highlight that as far as India's diplomatic stand is concerned, they've taken a step where they've said that we are on the side of peace. The Indian government hasn't spoken on the killing of Khamenei, but has said that that India diplomatically stands for resolution of any conflict. Now, as we speak about what's really been happening in the Gulf countries, let's take a look at the situation currently in Dubai at this point and whether in the last 24 hours at least some sense of normalcy has finally crept in.
For decades, Dubai, the city of gold, has marketed itself as one of the world's safest cities, a stable oasis in a turbulent West Asia. But the expanding West Asia conflict is testing that image. Iran's retaliatory strikes have hit Dubai's airports, hotels, and ports, even causing some damage to the iconic landmark, the Burj Al Arab. The physical damage may be limited, but the psychological and economic impact on investors and expatriates could be much bigger. The UAE authorities have moved quickly to contain the fallout and reassure markets. Dubai's stock exchanges suspended trading on March 2nd and 3rd. The city's economy is heavily dependent on trade, tourism and finance. Now it faces rising uncertainty and geopolitical tensions.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
If the conflict continues, Dubai's hard-earned reputation as a global financial safe haven will face serious risk.
Oh my God.
High net worth individuals and international firms may reconsider their operations or even relocate. As the City of Gold faces this unexpected challenge, the coming days will determine how Dubai rebuilds confidence and restores trust. Bureau Report, India Today.
Now, amid a lot of questions about what next in this conflict, one of the big talking points has been the crucial Strait of Hormuz. Now, Iran has repeatedly threatened that they'll completely shut it off. And as a result of that, there's barely any trade happening on this particular route. Now, the news break that's coming in, sources telling us that Saudi Aramco has informed crude buyers to load cargoes instead from the Red Sea coast, and so to avoid the Strait of Hormuz completely. This is the big breaking news coming in. I'll also highlight for you that the Saudi oil giant Aramco has also suffered its own casualties, in the sense that one of its big refineries was also targeted in the strike. There were those dramatic images that came in of an Aramco refinery on fire. After that, while in fact the Saudi oil giant has already suffered losses, keeping in mind what's happening with the Strait of Hormuz, the message is very clear. They're not willing to take any chances, which is why they're already looking at alternative routes which have more or less been identified. Remember that for most right now, trade routes have changed. The entire oil route as a result of this conflict has been shifted, and many would suggest that it's been in the offing for the last many months as well, with US constantly facing these kind of threats and warnings from Iran that they will shut down the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz itself is a crucial trading route, and Iran, considering its strategic location, has been threatening constantly to close it off, which doesn't just impact a few countries. Let's be clear that something like that will impact the entire world. But let me explain to you why the Strait of Hormuz is so crucial. Why is the world talking about it? Will India be affected too? Let's show you what exactly the Strait of Hormuz looks like first. It's a global oil lifeline, and it essentially handles about 1/6 of the global oil production. All of it moves through that particular corridor and that curve that we've highlighted for you. In that particular stretch there, which we've got the dot on, the red line there, that particular area is exactly where Iran can cut off the Strait of Hormuz. But because it carries 1/3 of the global liquefied natural gas supplies, it's a big challenge for the entire world. Around 20% of the world oil, Middle East, of course, because it's so close there, actually transits annually through that particular route. And so this particular stretch is extremely crucial. Now, I will remind you that because of all that's been happening, with 17.2 million barrels of oil daily moving through that particular stretch, that number has considerably come down in the last few days. As far as the India impact is concerned, I referred to that earlier. India imports around 45% of crude oil via the Strait of Hormuz. No reason to panic whatsoever, and we'll talk about that at a later time, about whether we're going to see oil prices go up. There is no reason to panic. It's not going to happen. The closure may disrupt oil supplies to India. But mind you, it could be larger on the long term than short term, because India does have a certain amount of oil stock. So there's absolutely no shock that will be coming your way. Let's get you now a detailed report about what's playing out right now. As far as the world economy is concerned, courtesy the Strait of Hormuz, is there a pinch the world is feeling because of Iran's threats? Here's that report.
The Strait of Hormuz, the short stretch of water between Iran and Oman, is barely 33 kilometers wide at its narrowest point. But block it and the world economy trembles. The escalating conflict between the United States, Israel combined, and Iran has now impacted the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian commanders have declared the strait closed, warning that any vessel attempting to pass through would be set ablaze. At least 5 tankers have been damaged. 2 crew members are dead. Around 150 ships are stranded. The Strait of Hormuz is not just another shipping lane. It carries nearly 1/5 of the world's seaborne crude oil, 1/5 of global LNG supplies. And here is where it hits home. With tanker movement suspended, nearly half of India's crude imports are directly exposed. 50% of India's oil imports are through the Strait of Hormuz, and the country is dependent on imports for over 88% of its oil needs. Refiners currently hold over 10 days of inventory and strategic reserves can be tapped. But a prolonged closure would significantly tighten global supply. Every $1 rise in crude adds nearly $2 billion annually to India's import bill. And prices could surge sharply if the blockade persists for a long period of time. India could explore other sources for its oils, but imports from Russia could face US sanctions. Sourcing from the US and other regions is possible, but at higher freight, insurance and procurement cost. A sustained closure could push crude towards $100 per barrel, raising inflation risk, widening the current account deficit and putting pressure on the rupee. The closure is just not another crude oil. LPG and LNG are even more vulnerable. India imports 80 to 85% of its LPG needs, largely from Gulf suppliers, almost entirely via Hormuz. Around 60% of LNG imports also pass through the strait. Unlike crude, India does not maintain large strategic reserves for LPG or LNG, and spot cargo availability is limited. If the closure continues, cooking gas supplies and gas-based industries could face sharper price pressure. This isn't just a West Asia war story. It's a cost of living story for Indian households. It's a business disruption story. It's an inflation story. If the Gulf burns longer, India will feel the heat at the fuel pump, in the kitchen, and across the economy. Bureau Report, India Today.
And joining us now on this broadcast is PV Sindhu, Olympian and ace shuttler. Sindhu, thank you very much for joining us here on India Today. Can I just begin by saying we're so glad you're back home, back in India and back safe. We've been seeing and tracking all that you've been putting out on social media about what you faced. Take us through it, Sindhu. What happened with you in Dubai?
Well, yeah, 1 second, I'm sorry.
Sure, no problem.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Sindhu. If you're comfortable.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, 1 second. Yeah, hi. So, I mean, yeah, it was pretty bad scene, like when we landed on the 28th. Of course, I've already mentioned actually, you know, I kept getting a lot of messages and a lot of calls actually, you know, because when we landed and the airport was shut, they said, you know, the airspace was completely shut and, you know, you have to wait until the next call comes. So it was pretty bad. We were in a pretty bad situation, but I think, you know, later on they had told us that, you know, we don't know when will it open. So I was hoping that, you know, maybe in a day it would be fine. And then, you know, 1 day passed and the second day passed. So I was like, you know, I was thinking that, you know, what's going to happen, because I was, you know, actually going for the All England Championships. But yeah, unfortunately, you know, I couldn't. But I must say I safely, you know, reached back home. I think that was way more important is what I feel at the moment.
No, I completely agree with you, especially looking at so many people still stuck in parts of Dubai, Abu Dhabi, wondering when they'll get back home. But just to talk about what you went through in those few days, Sindhu, were you stuck at the airport?
Yeah, we were at the airport like almost for like 10, 12 hours, and finally they have agreed to give a. Initially, they were not allowing us outside the airport as well because there was a lot of crowd trying to go out, and they said that we would be giving a transit hotel, and then whenever you get any email, you can come back to the airport. But that also took time because there were so many people because all the flights have been cancelled, right? So from different terminals. So it was literally like a chaos, there's so many people were there. So it took us some time to actually know what's going on, and finally when they said, and we got the vouchers to go to the hotel, we left, we were on the way, and then my coach actually was at the airport, and all of a sudden 100 meters away he just heard a it's like, I don't know what it was exactly, he heard a noise and they all started running. So it was terrifying at the moment, like, because we didn't know what was going on. We were in the bus, but my coach was at the airport, so they had to immediately take him in the bus and then shift him to a hotel. And then we finally reached the hotel around like in the midnight, and we got rooms. But I think I must say that I'm very thankful to the Emirates people for accommodating so many people in different hotels. At the same time, Indian Consulate, from there, Dubai, they have managed everything really well, and I think it was really, really very nice of them to actually accommodate a lot of people and take care of all of us. And of course, government also was very helpful. Ram Mohan Naidu sir had called me and asked me how was the situation there, and Raksha ma'am had called me, and I've got call from Sports Minister sir's office as well. So it was like everybody was very concerned of what was happening, and of course the media people were also very concerned, asking what was happening or how it is. So this was the whole situation. It was really like a bit terrifying, and we all very, very scared, but things were like okay at some point of time.
Sindhu, I wonder, did you see those pictures after of smoke billowing out of the Dubai International Airport, one of the busiest airports in the world, like you said? And so to see those images of what happened at the airport right after, did that kind of shock you? Did it numb you?
So basically, I didn't see the smoke like at the airport. Like my coach saw it, but we heard sounds like when we were at the hotel, when they were intercepting. We heard the sound. So it was a bit scary. So we were at the hotel. We didn't actually go out, or we didn't stand out. We were in the hotel itself, and we've also got like the emergency messages saying that don't be close to the windows, or stay in the hotel itself and be careful. So we got an emergency message as well to all our phones. So we were very careful about that.
I just want to also highlight that you were in one of what is considered to be one of the safest cities in the world, and who would have thought that a war would break out and that a city like Dubai would be held hostage? Did that run through your mind as well, that I'm in a city like Dubai, as commercial as it is, as full of activity as it is, now completely crippled by a war?
Well, firstly, Dubai is one of the safest places. Yes, we love Dubai, and of course, me and my husband love Dubai. So I know it is one of the safest places, and every time we go for a tournament, we go through Dubai, we do a transit at Dubai, and no one even expected that this was going to happen. Like initially, it was just 15 minutes. Like we landed at 1 p.m. and 1:15 it was shut. The airport was shut. So like 2 hours before, like some of the Indian players did a transit in Dubai and went to Birmingham, and they were okay and they landed fine. And I don't know what to say. It was so unfortunate that, it was just like, those few minutes or an hour or so, if I could have gone a bit early, then everything would have been fine. So I wouldn't have been here today, but I would have been in Birmingham, playing my match. But I mean, right now I can only say that, it's important, safety is important, and, it's good that, they've arranged flights to a lot of, Indians and to different cities like Chennai, Bombay, Delhi and Bangalore. And I must really thank the Consulate General of India, who were at Dubai, and also from here coordinating. From India also they were coordinating like how was the situation and everything. So hats off to them to actually help us. Yep.
You know, one thing that stood out for me
Not only just me, but I mean, so many Indians. Yeah.
I agree, because, you know, you've seen it, so you know what others are going through too. But one aspect of what stood out for me from my conversation so far with you is how unpredictable things can be. And, you know, as a player, you know how unpredictable a game can be, and that literally translated into real life for you, because I'm sure you had no idea what was going to happen in the next 24 hours, how long you'd remain in Dubai with no way out, and all of it because you said in a matter of minutes, things changed.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, no one predicted this, and we didn't even know how many days we were going to stay there. And suddenly, like yesterday, we got a call in the evening because the Emirates people actually came to the hotel and actually took our details and everything, and then went back, and we got a call from Emirates saying that, you know, if you're traveling to India, please do come back. And even then, I've asked them that are there any flights to go to London or, you know, anywhere, so that I could actually go and play a tournament. But they said no, but if you are going to India, please come to airport as soon as possible. So it was just that minutes completely changed. We had to pack everything and go to the airport. But at the same time, you know, when we actually landed there, we had no clue how is it going to be there, because every hour it was different, because they postponed the flights, and then at once they were like, we suspended the flights, and they're like, we don't know when will the you know, flights or airspace will be on, or when will the flights fly. We have no idea. Like, everybody put their hands up and they were like, we have no idea. So it was terrifying, like what's happening, like, you know, where are we, like what is next? We were all in that situation.
And your hands are tied. You know, there's nothing you can do in such a situation but just sit tight and hope for the best, hope that help comes your way. I'm glad, though, that the government did step in actively to help you as well. And here's hoping everyone else returns home safely. Sindhu, I'll just again repeat that everyone, and we as a nation, heaved a sigh of relief when we found out that you're back home, back safe. We wish you could have gone to Birmingham, but, you know, the circumstances are such. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sindhu, for joining us. All right, we've got big breaking news that's coming in. Trump has made another big statement about what's really happening as far as the West Asia war is concerned. Trump says that at this point, Iran wants to talk, and he's told them, too late. This is what Trump claims has happened. Trump is being quoted by the US media, where he's purportedly said that Iran's air defense, air force, navy, leadership is all gone, and so now they want to talk. I said, too late. Stunning, really, if this is true, that Donald Trump has made it clear there will be no dialogue whatsoever. One of the biggest scenarios perhaps that could have played out if we were going to see this war end in the next few days was dialogue. Trump seems to have closed the door on that. Geeta Mohan is joining us with more details on this. Geeta, stunning claim there by Donald Trump. He said at this point that it's too late. There's no question of dialogue now with Iran. And he says that essentially now the reason Iran is doing it is because they're completely weak. Their air force is gone, their air defense is gone, their leadership is gone. Now we will, of course, wait for what Iran has to say about this, because we know full well that in today's times, a war is also all about managing narratives. And Trump has been doing exactly that with every single statement he's been putting out, now claiming that Iran has reached out for fresh dialogue, for talks, and that he has dismissed them. He's rejected this proposal, saying it's too late. This is the big claim being made by Donald Trump. And if this is true, we'll wait, like I said, for confirmation from Iran. But if this is true, it means that the war is going to rage on, that there's no chance for dialogue, at least for the time being. So this is the big charge that's come in from Donald Trump, where he says that there's been now a call made to him by Iran, and that he has said there's no question of dialogue now, that it is far too late for a conversation. The question that then comes up is what next in this war? Trump, remember, yesterday had said that this war will go on for 4 to 5 weeks more. He said it's not going to be an endless war. I'm not going to get bored of this war. That's essentially what he said. He said there's no way that I'll get bored. We are going to continue this particular fight against Iran, against the Iranian military, against the Iranian leadership. And so he says that there's no question of dialogue as well. Did Iran actually reach out to Trump? Did Iran seek a fresh round of talks, some middle ground negotiation? At this point, Trump says, yes, they did, because their air defense is down, their air force is down, their leadership is gone. But I've told them very clearly that it's too late. Trump suggesting that he's turned away any chance of dialogue with Iran. And if that is the case, what we're going to see is more bombardment. What we're going to see is this war continuing to escalate. Remember that Donald Trump, the US president, has constantly maintained that US and Israel have the upper hand, that they saw this kind of a counter from Iran coming, but that it hasn't dented them in any way. Mind you, there's huge domestic pressure also on Donald Trump in the face of this kind of a conflict, especially from MAGA supporters who suggest that Trump had very clearly said that he's going to stop all wars, not start wars. And so something like this happening is already leading to a lot of domestic pressure on Trump. Having said that, he's not showing it. He says that Iran reached out. I said too late. Pranay Upadhyay of India Today Global is joining us with more details on this stunning claim, Pranay, by Donald Trump. And if this is true, it means that the doors are closed for any dialogue, any talks.
Akshita, just a while ago, we were having this conversation that how they have been shifting goalposts. How President Donald Trump, who started that, I'm the peacemaker, I'm the deal maker, and now he's giving that indication that he's not willing to talk, even if Iranians want to talk. And in fact, he said that we have decimated. You can very well see that how coherent it is with Tel Aviv or Jerusalem's viewpoint that we will go on as long as it takes. So clearly, President Donald Trump, who indicated just 24 hours ago that it may take 4 to 5 weeks of the operation, and we will achieve our objective. This is in line of those this resolve or those statements. And now he is indicating that Iranians are backing out. Iranians are they are succumbing to pressure. However, on the other side, we have also seen statement put out by the Iranian Foreign Minister saying that the onus of stopping this war, going for ceasefire, rest on Americans and Israelis, because they initiated this conflict. They have waged war against Iran.
Thanks very much, Pranay, for getting us those details. Like I said, we'll await a statement from Iran on whether they agree with what Trump has said, that they did reach out for some dialogue and were turned down. There are all kinds of wild theories doing the rounds about the war on social media. We've seen a whole lot of reels of how US and Israel pulled off the attacks. Some believable, some exaggerated, not really true. So we'll kind of give you details of what of these comments and posts you see on social media is real and what isn't. Here's our segment, War Viral. The first one that's been doing the rounds on social media is that there's a dental tracking device implant that was used. Here's the theory, that they were in fact Mossad agents who were posing as doctors, and for top military commanders of Iran, dental implants tracking devices were put in their mouths and they had no idea about it. This has been doing the rounds constantly on social media. Is this true? Absolutely not. We can confirm for you that this is false. There's no such implant that can be made, quite simply because how does it work? How does a tracking device in your mouth work? You've seen it in the movies. It doesn't happen in real. Second, and this is an important one, there's been a lot of panic online on social media that oil prices will now skyrocket. Considering all the talk of the Strait of Hormuz and that the Middle East countries are affected, is that really the case? At least as far as India goes, it's not going to happen. Oil prices will not skyrocket, and the Indian government has also made that very clear, saying we have enough stock, it's not going to immediately affect us, and there's no question of thinking or hiking up petrol and diesel prices. Number 3, war viral, that nuclear sites in Iran have been hit. Now, let's highlight for you that there have been some suggestions that nuclear sites like that of Natanz has been hit. Yes, but has there been any impact? Not really. In fact, you've got the global nuke watchdog making it very clear that there's been no radiation that's been reported, or for that matter, that the nuclear sites haven't been destroyed anywhere in Iran. So as much as you're seeing these claims and suggesting that a nuclear war has broken out, it's not true. Don't believe everything you see on social media. These claims are going viral, but it is false. We can confirm that for you. Now, another aspect that's going viral right now is talk of how exactly Khamenei was tracked down by US and Israel. And one of those claims is that traffic cameras were used, that traffic cameras were hacked into and used to find Khamenei. Is that true? We can confirm for you that yes, that did happen. That was one of the ways that intelligence agencies in US and Israel were actually able to identify exactly where Khamenei was. They tracked down not just his movement, but the entire Iranian leadership, including military commanders. Now, another claim that's been doing the rounds on social media, and this is an interesting one, that Trump, US President, Netanyahu, Israeli Prime Minister, and Khamenei, who's been killed, all three were born on eclipse days. Coincidentally, today is a lunar eclipse. Is this true? It's a weird coincidence for sure if it's true, but I can assure you that it is not. Don't believe, again, everything you see on social media. The three leaders were not born on eclipse days. Remember, they are at the core of what's playing out in this war. Khamenei has already been assassinated, and no, they do not share that particular similarity of being born on eclipse days. Now, another theory that's been doing the rounds about how exactly this entire assassination of Khamenei was pulled off with a perfect precision strike was that there was a Mossad mole in Khamenei's circle. Now, is this really true? The reason this was sparked off is because there was a lot of talk, and an anonymous post highlighted how one particular commander wasn't there for that particular meeting. So the suggestion is that he was actually the mole for Mossad. Is this true? Well, we don't know, because all the details of how really this operation was pulled off is not known. So it's very much possible that there was a mole. We're not going to rule it out, but we cannot for sure say that this 100% happened. Now, another aspect, again coming down to the tracking of Khamenei and the Iranian leadership, is that Israel hacked the Iranian prayer app. This is a massive app that almost every Iranian has on their mobile phones. Did this actually happen? Because this by itself is a huge, huge cyber breakthrough for Israel. It is very much true. It's been confirmed that Israel and US did hack into two crucial apps in Iran to help in finding out the movement of the Iranian leadership and also track what's happening in the country before the operation. So the prayer app, yes, was hacked. We're going to continue, of course, getting you all of these details in our War Viral segment. Everything that you see on social media, do not believe. We'll filter that down for you here on India Today.